Now, last year, in 2019, we were joined by world-renowned artist Anne Stokes. Her work can be seen everywhere: T-shirts, jigsaws, book covers, Dungeons and Dragons, and even on my wall. Throughout the week, she's been gathering questions asked by yourselves, her fans, and she can answer them now on a Q&A. Welcome, Anne.
Hi, Anne.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing this evening, Anne?
Doing great, thank you. I've been enjoying watching the show. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you're here with us. So we've got some questions and they're put out on the Facebook post, and we've got lots of your fans that have asked you a question. Would you mind if we ask them to you?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Okie dokie. So we've got Terry Lincoln here. So if you're watching, Terry, here's your question. And Terry asks, when designing a new piece, what is your process? How do you get started?
Right. Well, that's a very good question, Terry. One of the big things about my art is the fact that I decide what it is that I'm going to paint. I used to work as a commissioned artist where I would follow a brief from an art director. But now I do my own artwork for license. So when starting a picture, really half the process is thinking about what I'm going to do. A lot of my pictures are based around like sentiments or emotions. And so I would begin the process with thinking, how can I convey that? How can I convey this particular thing? Like maybe it's a meeting, or it's about love, or it's about friendship or remembrance or something like that. So once I figure that out in my head, then I do a rough sketch. And then usually I work digitally. I'll scan that into a computer and then I'll see how it goes.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Great. So the next question is from Rayna Fielding. And Rayna asks, the question I have is, most of your artwork in one way or another shows a skull. Is there a particular reason behind the skull, like with some of your artwork, the keys, woman, etc.?
Right. Well, that's an interesting question too. I often put different symbolic items in pictures, which helps to convey something about the meaning. So often there might be a skull included, which can mean a variety of different things, but often it is a reference to mortality. So it's perhaps time passing. I did a picture called Only Love Remains that some people who follow my art might be aware of. And in the background of that is a skull and overgrown vines. And in that picture, it represents the fact that time has passed, and this is the angel in the foreground is remembering what happened and what the love that she felt for this person. So there are little elements of symbolism in the pictures for people to spot.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, the next question is from Lizzie Willoughby. And she says, hi, Anne. What inspired you to the fantasy genre of art? And when did you first draw or paint your first fantasy piece?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a hard one. I guess really what opened my eyes to fantasy is when I was a little girl, my father read me The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And read me half a chapter or whatever every night in bed. And I was absolutely captivated by it. And that really opened my eyes to the fact that there are dragons and elves and all these fantasy stories and literature. So I also, as a young child, loved to draw and paint. And that often became the subjects of my pictures, and that I would practice drawing dragons or knights or all sorts of things like that. And it's led on to a lifelong interest in fantasy and the whole genre.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely lovely. So the next one is coming from Fizzy Walker. I like the name Fizzy. Great name. Hi, Anne. Your artwork includes strong female characters, and in turn, we see you as a strong and independent woman. But would you secretly like to be saved by a ruggedly handsome hunk in armour and knight carrying your flag? Ooh.
Isn't that John?
Well, the short answer to that is no.
Woohoo!
I think I'll save myself, thank you very much. But actually, that is one of the strong themes in my art, that I do paint mainly female characters, and I guess that's really a reflection of the fact that throughout my life and career, the guys always seem to be important, and I really think that the women should be the heroes too. So we're just as capable of rescuing ourselves as any gentleman. and that is my outlook on life. But if anybody did rescue me, then I guess perhaps I was slightly rescued already, actually, by my wonderful partner John, who is an absolutely wonderful, lovely man, and is an artist too, and we share so many things in our lives. So if I did have to be rescued by a rugged hero, I hope John would ride a black stallion. Might get
Oh, I like it. But yeah, team girl, we can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it. Okay, and the next question is from Tina Rose Johnson. How long did it take you to be an established artist? And how long until you started seeing the money?
Right. Oh, I always wanted to be an artist right when I was a little girl. It was not an easy road. And I tried everything. I mean, my first art jobs I got when I was a teenager I knew a group of people that were into heavy metal. And at that time, it was quite cool to have your jacket painted with bands, albums and stuff. So I used to earn a bit of cash on the side painting their little jackets. So I guess that was really my first job. I then went to art college briefly. I didn't get on terribly well at art college. I didn't really like fantasy art there. And I left that. I got an apprenticeship doing merchandise designing and jewelry sculpture, which I did for a number of years. But I pursued my career in painting and illustration. And then I got worked doing Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of artwork for Dungeons and Dragons rule books, which was great. And I did it. But then really I developed my own brand of art and my own ideas. So that's what I do now. So it's really been a gradual process, but I've certainly been working in licensing for about 10 years now.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So the next one is from Ken Livermore. You compose your pictures with digital art methods. Do you ever use a traditional paint on canvas method as a change?
Right. Well, now it is a lot more fun to paint with actual paint on a canvas than sit in front of a computer. But I do find that the computer is very helpful, especially within licensing, because I can paint things in different layers. I can alter the pictures. I can change them perhaps for different products and different things. So I do usually sketch with a pencil on paper, but then I usually scan it in. But perhaps every now and again it is nice maybe to do some traditional art. And of course, then you end up with a lovely painting you can hang on the wall. But most of my artwork is just available as prints because it's done in the digital medium.
Awesome, thank you. And Elizabeth Adams says, will you ever take part in any events in Canada?
Well, it would be lovely to go to Canada. I have never visited Canada. It's really down when to who invites me, really. You know, we've been to festivals all over the world. Like I was obviously delighted to be invited last year to the Fantasy Forest Festival, and that's in such a beautiful location in Sudeley Castle there. That was wonderful and quite easy for me to get to, being in the UK myself. But yes, we do often travel to other countries too. But so if there's a festival or an event in Canada that would like to invite me, I'd certainly consider it.
Oh, brilliant. And Pip Riley says, we know you have a large following of loyal fans across the world, and possibly the success of HP and Game of Thrones have brought in new fans who love owls and dragons. But your skeletal artworks are also hugely popular. So I'm sure everyone would like to know more if you're planning any more Goth Rocker, Reaper, Hell Rider, Rock God style artworks in the future.
Well, that would be cool. You know, one of the things that I love most about fantasy is the endless possibilities. I mean, there is so much scope for different subjects, from fairies to vampires to dragons to skeletons to whatever. And I think perhaps earlier on in my career, I painted more what you might sort of class as heavy metal kind of rock type images, perhaps. And as I perhaps matured and moved more into my licensed work, I did more illustrative pieces with ladies and dragons and things like that. But, you know, there's always an opportunity for more skulls and skeletons. I'll certainly on the list of things to do.
Yeah, but it's a big list. That's a big list. Okay, and Livermore Spirov says, how do you perceive the role of creatures such as dragons in your pieces?
Right, well, now, I've always seen dragons as mainly friendly. Actually, there are big vicious dragons, but I think most dragons are creatures like you would find in the real world. And I absolutely adore dogs. I have 3 myself. And I often, when I paint a person with a dragon in a picture, I think of it perhaps as the relationship that somebody might have with a very loyal companion of their dog. So they've got that special bond, although, you know, they're each their own person. And certainly dragons are often big and powerful, can't be controlled by a person, but are there out of friendship.
Yeah.
Right.
A bit like cats, really.
Well, I've never had a cat. I do like all creatures. I think I would have to call myself a dog person, but I
That's all good. Thank you for that. We've got Deborah Landerman saying, "Hi, Anne. I know a lot of your inspiration comes from nature, the elements and pagan Celtic folklore. Have you ever been inspired to do any based on Nordic history? I'd love to see your take on the Ouroboros, Fenrir, Hugin and Munin."
Well, yes, that is a good question. I certainly think that an awful lot of fantasy is based on myths and legends that have been handed down throughout the hundreds, thousands of years in it. And it's really interesting to look back and see where they originated from. Just recently, actually, when I was painting a picture about a phoenix, I was very interested to see that actually this started in Greek mythology. And it's quite a backstory there about the meaning of the phoenix. But yes, Norse mythology, likewise, very interesting. And certainly some of those subjects would be great, you know, especially the serpent eating its own tail, isn't it? It's a very, very interesting one. It's sort of, that's another one about the cycle of life and rebirth. And that would be a good one for a picture.
Absolutely. I look forward to that. And so we've got Angela next saying, "I'm a member of the Anne Stokes forum, and they asked us to pick a favourite dragon. Now, picking just one of your beasts is not an easy feat, but I chose the water dragon as the one I'd choose for my companion, but would typically steer to one that could fly. Since the water dragon does have wings, would you say that it could find time in the sky, purely for fun and fantasy? But it's your creation, so wondered what your thoughts are."
Right. Wow, that's a good one. When I designed my Age of Dragons range, it contains lots of different species of dragon. Water dragon is one of them, and that's partly what I did when I created them. It wasn't just a picture; it was all the different characteristics that made these dragons adapt to the environment they lived in. And yes, the water dragon does have wings, and I imagined that the wings would be used to swim under the water, but also they likewise could fly in the sky.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Interesting question here from Jeffrey Brewer. And Jeffrey asks, "Hi, I wanted to know if I could get permission to use one of your pieces for a tattoo."
Well, that is a question that I get asked a lot. And that's a good one, because I'm absolutely fine with anybody getting a tattoo of any of my work. I give open permission for that. If somebody likes my picture enough to want to get it tattooed on, I think that's a great compliment, and you go for it. It's always nice to see photographs of how they turn out, you know, in the different styles tattoo artists use, or perhaps somebody gets the tattoo personalized with a little adjustment to the picture, just so it's special to them.
Oh, yes, we look forward to seeing that one, Jeffrey. And the final one is from Ken Livermore. And it says, "As an artist, do you think the fantasy art gets the recognition it deserves within the art world?"
Well, I don't think that one often goes to an art gallery and sees, certainly in the modern art genre, fantasy art. But in art from history, like pre-Raphaelite art, for example, there are lots of fantasy subjects. But yes, certainly now, and that is part of the problem I felt that I had when I went to art college, which was a long time ago, admittedly, but very much the emphasis was on fine art, and that was proper art, and fantasy was something else. But anyway, perhaps we can go some way to change that.
I think so. That's absolutely. And can I just ask you one question, Anne? What is your favourite fantastical creature? Do you have a favourite?
A favourite creature? Well, it has to be the dragon, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Right from when I was a little girl. I don't know why. I just adore dragons. I thought they were wonderful.
I thought you were going to say
Yes.
John then, Anne.
No, not. He's not a But that was amazing. Thank you so much, everyone that sent in their questions. And thank you, Anne, for answering them for us.
That's okay. Well, thanks very much for having me on.
Lovely. Take care of yourself. Love to both you and John.
We look forward to seeing you at the festival next year.
See you next year.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Bye, Anne.
Bye. Thank you so much.